my first tutorial, so please bear with me. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick brief overview of how to use Adobe Portfolio for putting your work together. If you go into Creative Cloud, which should appear a bit like this, you'll find that you've got all these different apps that you can use. We'll just ignore that and look on the left hand side, and you've got links here to online resources, which is what Portfolio is. It's not an app, it's an online resource that you've got. You can actually get to it another way, but I just wanted to show you how to get to it this way. So if you click on Portfolio, it will take you to this page, and on this page you won't have any of these if you've not used it before. These are sites that I've already created. You should see an add sign here to create a new web page. If you click on add, you can choose to create either a full portfolio or a welcome page. Now you're going to need the full thing, so we'll just get straight into that. So we'll leave it on full portfolio, and then you've got a number of designs to pick from. Now bear in mind, when you're looking at these, they won't appear as they do here when you kind of open it up, because you haven't got anything in there at the moment, and you certainly haven't got these images that they've populated in there. So what you're looking at here is the sort of the layout of the font and where the sort of images fall and the colours that are used in the scheme rather than in the images. So just bear that in mind when you're looking at these. Okay, so you've got quite a few to select from. For the purpose of this task, I'm just going to click straight into the first one, and it gives you a little bit of preview. You can click through them and sort of have a look. There you go. Oh wow, yeah, I really like this one. And then you click on use this theme. So then what it does is it creates you a little dashboard. Picks out your name, obviously, because you're logged in as you. And you can start editing. Now, it takes you straight to a sort of a default setup for a portfolio. And this would be effectively the landing page that you would see. It's not exactly attractive, but you can change that. You can change anything that's within this. So just for the starting point, I'm going to get rid of this title, and I'm just going to call it BA Illustration Level 4. Okay, and you can change sort of the little description that's in there. You could just put in coursework submission, if you want to call it that. You can call it anything, it doesn't really matter. Okay, here you can add a logo if you want to. Accidentally clicked on that, but you don't have to. This is your navigation pane, so this is going to have links to all the different pages that you're going to create. However many you wish to. You don't have to do millions, you don't have to do just one, it's totally up to you. And down here is your control panel. So this panel here is basically where you're going to make all of your changes except for the content. So for each sort of subject area that we look at, if you want to call it that, in this case we've got project work that we do on a Monday, and then we've got contextual studies that we do on a Tuesday. Now you don't have to keep them separate like that, but while I'm talking through this, I'm just going to kind of describe the way that I've done it. So I chose to keep them separate in two different collections. So I suppose the best place to start is pages. If you click on pages, at the moment what it's done as a default is set up a custom sort of collection page, and I know it's a collection because it's got these little dots here, and what those dots mean is that on that page here you can add a number of links to, or should I say a number of other pages which will have your content. So that what you'll end up doing is creating little subsections in here. You could have a page for each project or a page for each week of contextual study. You've also got this contact page here on this particular layout. You won't have it on all of them. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to get rid of this because it's pointless. It doesn't serve any purpose. In order for this to appear in the navigation bar, as it does there, there's a little drop down here for your settings, and you can either hide it in the navigation or you can show it. You'll see what I mean later on, because some of the pages you might not want in your navigation. You might not want all of your sub pages in there so that it clutters it. You might just want your collection page name in the navigation. So because this is a collection, I'm going to keep it in there, so I'm not going to hide it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to edit the collection title, and I'm going to call this particular collection Projects. And I'm going to change the URL to match that as well, just so that it reflects what it's actually called. Okay. So this is our first project page, our first collection page. Now you might want to add another collection. So you can see here there's a number of different pages that you can add. I'm going to add another collection because I want a separate one for contextual studies. So that's my second collection. Now at the moment you can see that the projects page is marked up as my home page, but I don't really want that because I don't want that to be my landing page. So I'm also going to create a welcome page. You can choose the layout of that welcome page. I'm just going to go with a typical centered one, and I'm going to call it again BA-UNS illustration, and I want to make that my home page because I want it to be where you first land. Okay, so now if I go back to the pages menu, we've got the landing page, which is my home page. Then we've got two appending pages to that, contextual studies and projects, and then within those I'm going to create separate pages for each sort of section that we have studied so far this year. So on the home page, in order to get to these pages here, I need to create some sort of links. So because this has already got like a bit of a standard look to it, I'm not really going to mess too much with that. You'll figure that out yourselves. You can change the text styles, whether it's underlined, bold, italic, whether it's a paragraph or a header. All of that kind of just comes as and when you're navigating around this. So for the purpose of this, I'm just going to put in a little description here again. Beyond illustration, coursework. Okay. Social icons, you can keep those in there if you want. I don't think they're really relevant for this. You may decide differently if you use Instagram or such alike a lot. I want to edit this button because I want to create my first link to my other pages. So I'm going to call this project work, and I want to link that back to one of the pages that I've created just now. So I'm going to, if you click on the drop down there, you can either choose external URL, which in a normal world when you're creating a website you could link to somebody else's pages. You may wish to do that with some of your research, or you can link to one of your own pages, which at this point this is the only separate page I've got, so I'm not going to link back to the same page, otherwise it won't work. Or you can link to a collection, which for me that's what the home page should be linked to, your collections. So I'm going to choose projects because that's what I've titled that one. And again, you can mess with the aesthetics of that. You can sort of change how the button looks, how wide it is, how it appears in normal mode, how it appears when you hover over it. I'm not going to mess with that at the moment. These are all kind of fine tweaks that you can learn along the way, and you can do, say, after you've populated. There's no point getting kind of bogged down in that now. So I've not just got project work, I also want to add in the fact that I've got contextual studies, so I'm going to add in another button here, and I'm going to call this one contextual studies, and again I'm going to link to an internal page. So we've now got our landing page kind of basic format sorted. If you want to, you can change the page background. You can upload an image if you want to. Say you've done a piece of work that you're particularly proud of. You may kind of want to, I don't know, put in some of those. Let's have a look. Just for effect, I'm gonna put something in there. And I'm gonna choose one of my posters that I've done, just because it will fill. Okay, maybe that's not in there because I've got a folder called Final. There we go. Okay. This is just to give you an idea of how that works. Okay. So you can fiddle around with that as well in the options. You can decide whether you want to repeat it as a tile image, which doesn't really work with this one because it's quite a big image. You can choose how it's fixed. So you could have it, again, because this is quite a big picture, it doesn't really enable me to demonstrate that very well to you. But again, you can play with that when you've got a bit of time. I want this to cover as much as the content area as possible. So, okay. And you can also include like an overlay colour if you want to tone that down so you can see the difference there. What that does is if you've got your text in a certain colour, it kind of helps bring that out a bit more. So for example, the opacity here is quite fine, whereas if I increase that, you can see the overriding text a lot better. So I think I'm gonna leave that as that. And just to check this, you can click on preview just to see what that looks like. And that's what it looks like in the live environment. And you can test your links at this point as well. So I'm going to just test the project work link. So that does take me to my projects page. Okay, and go back to edit. But because it took me to that page, it's taken me to that page to edit. So we'll just go back a step. Okay, so you've kind of created your landing page. Now it's time to sort of get into the real nitty-gritty of it and decide what you're going to put into these different sections. You can reorder these. As you can see, you just click and lift and move it. Doesn't really matter, it just changes the way that it appears in the navigation bar. Okay, which I'll just point out you don't see in the landing page, you see that when you're on these other pages. So if you click on projects, what that does then is it takes you to the main project page. I'm actually going to rename this, it's not what I should have named it. What I want to name this is project work, and I'm going to say here is a collection of my projects, and then you can start populating this by adding in pages. So you create a page, you can call this project 1. It will take you into project 1, and here you can start building the content. So you can add in an image, you can add in text, you can create a photo grid, which is slightly different. It's a collection of images, as it may appear, but what that does is it means that it puts them all together in like a little collage rather than a single image, and it takes up less room for each of the images. I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. So if I was to upload just my poster on its own, it's quite a large image, whereas if you upload a photo grid, and you choose a number of files, so let's just say I want to upload them all, it will sort of, I don't want to use the word shrink, it will lay them out so that you can fit them all in a smaller space, and that's really good for like showing perhaps collections of research that you've done where you're not really that bothered about somebody seeing the real texture or content of the work, but you just want to kind of show that you've looked at certain things and where you've got your inspiration from. It's really good for that. It's also really good for just evidencing steps perhaps that you've taken. So for example, the lino print, you may have taken pictures of like each stage of that you've taken to produce that, and you may only want to show your final work as a bigger image, so it's really good for using that. You can also upload videos. I'm not going to do one now because it will take a few minutes and I want to try and keep it as short as possible, but you can create a video on your iPhone and upload those. So if you've got any videos of you at work, so I'll show you some examples after, you might want to upload those. Like we did on the landing page, you can create buttons to link to other things. You can, as I say, add in text, which is where you probably look at things like talking about what you've learned in some of the contextual studies seminars and lectures. You can embed things as well, but bear in mind when you're embedding links from other websites or other things that you've created, there are only select things that Portfolio will accept. I presume that's because it's designed to be used by students or by artists as a place for them to sort of share their work rather than as a selling function. So you wouldn't embed loads of different things that are irrelevant to what it's aimed at doing. You can add social icons in again if you want. You can put in a contact form. I suppose the contact form is ideal if you're looking to use it as a way of showing publishers or editors out there the work that you can do. So, but for the purpose of this, we kind of just stick to these few at the top. Okay, and again, what you can do is you can have a quick look at a preview of that and how it's going to look when you're online. So that's good, looking good so far. So we'll go back to the edit, and you can then go back to project here, and you can sort of crack on with that and start adding more projects. Bear in mind again as well, the layout of this does depend on the sort of theme that you've picked from here, and you can go back and change the theme if you want to. If you want to go and see how it would look in a different style, you can do that. But again, you're not bound to that style. You can actually still change some of the styles, such as font and colours and things. But if you go in, you'll see here that the layout of the projects is slightly different. On the previous theme we were looking at, the words project 1 were here, but on here, on this particular theme, it appears when you hover over it. So yeah, that's what happens when you change the theme. I'm going to change it back to what it was. So continue editing. Okay. And again, what you could do is with contextual studies, you can add in, you know, for example, there was a week when we created a manifesto. There was a week when we did a bit of smell mapping. There was posters that we looked at. There was the colour investigation exercise. There's all sorts of bits and pieces that you can include in your contextual studies pages. So so you can add those in. Okay, I'm not going to progress anymore with this particular one because I did try and do a recording before this where I did quite a bit of work. So I'm going to take us back to my portfolio collection of sites and take you into the draft that I started a little while ago. So I'm just going to go back into this one. Okay, so very similar layout because, as I say, this is the original recording I tried to do that didn't actually record. But what I've got in here is a few more things listed. So I haven't done anything different apart from add more projects. And also what I've done here is added cover images. So when you've got your layout and you've got your pages added in that you want, you can change the appearance of that so that it's easily recognisable to you of what each of these is. So what you do is you go to edit cover image, and literally you can just you would have the option here to click to say upload, and you would click on that and then you go and find your image that you want to put in there, and you can move it around. You can zoom in and out depending on how much. You might not want to give everything away, you might just want a slightly little reveal. So it's entirely up to you how you play around with that. You could also have a different image uploaded for when you roll over it, but I mean that's just extra. You don't need to do that. What you can do as well is, if you're fed up of changing individually each page, you can actually change site-wide all of your backgrounds, colours and fonts and things, and also what's contained within your headers and footers and all that sort of thing, your navigation. You may want to have sub-page titles in, so if you was to click on that, it would include all of your project names. I think it looks a bit messy personally, so I would veer against that. But you do want your collection titles. Page titles, we've only got one page because, or should I say, one page outside of the collections, so that's appearing in the navigation pane. Because effectively your collections are your other two pages that have sub pages in. But if you could add as well links to other things in there, and again, social icons, it's very important in the actual industry, so if you wanted to add those you could. A logo, you know, it's entirely up to you. If you've got a logo that you want to add in there, go for it, but it will, you can't have text and a logo. You need to have one or the other, so it's up to you. But you can go in and change from, say, I think this is set to dark, you can change it to light. You can change the font so that it's a different font altogether, and it will change that right through the site. Your background colour, you know, you could get rid of that image that I'd previously done, you know, and you can change, if you want, say, to just red. And if we go to the preview just to have a look, it means that all of your pages will look exactly the same. So yeah, that's what you've got. That kills my eyes. So yeah, it's kind of really just it's quite simple once you've got an idea of how that looks and how to add things. It's not difficult, it's just, I guess, having that confidence to know that you're doing it right. One thing to be mindful of is that you can make mistakes, but you can't do anything that's going to affect anybody else because it's not live. So this website only becomes live when you click on publish, which I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to delete this afterwards, so I just don't really want it out there because it's just a testing format, shall we say. What I am going to do is go back to manage my sites, and I'm going to delete these for a start. The reason for that is because you only actually get up to 5 sites, and I've already got one for my foundation year and my one here for this year. So I am just going to get rid of these. At some point I probably will create one for my own professional portfolio, but I do have a website as well, so I'm kind of making the decision as to whether I need both. Just to show you the work that I've done very quickly, this is what mine looks like. So I've got the illustration projects, and then the contextual studies, and then I've got my research is separate. I just wanted to keep it separate, just so it was easy to navigate. And then I've got a section for independent projects, which aren't necessarily things that we're covering in our studies, but I feel are relevant to my development. So just to give you a feel, do not be alarmed by the amount of pages I've got. It looks crazy there, but it's not as crazy as it looks. Some of these as well are placeholders. So for example, I might look up an artist that I want to research and I haven't actually gone into it yet, or my notes are in my sketchbook, so I've just added them as placeholders. If we come back off that, I'll just show you how it looks in the end. So my illustration projects, as you can see, I've got the project 0. I don't think that's necessarily important to include, but I felt that it's work that I've done, so I wanted to include it. And then we've got project 1, project 2, project 3, and then project 4 that we're currently working on. And I've got placeholders for the remaining 2 projects that we've got, I believe, next year or next semester even. Contextual studies, I've got just a week by week account of, you know, it's almost like a journal. So, you know, what did I take from the lecture that Jane delivered, any exercises that we were to do throughout that, and my reflection of that, what we discussed in the seminars, any activities that we were given in the seminars to complete, and my feedback and findings on that. So basically that's what is contained within these, and by breaking it down by week, it just makes it easier to find. It really does. It's just, and again, I've got placeholders, and some of them are a little bit delayed in because we've done that. We've done that. So yeah, I've got a little bit of work to do on mine as it stands. I've stolen the word research reservoir from Jane because I love it. And this is a single page because each of these areas that I felt needed to be looked into have got collections within them. Don't know if it's going to let me click. No, I need to just show you the live site to do that. So yeah, the live site, if you click on, say, printmakers for example, I've got a collection of printmakers here and the type of print that they do, and then just a little bit about each of them, about their style, the methods, what they use, some of the works that they've created. It's by no means a full account of these individuals, but I'm pretty sure as and when I revisit these people through progression throughout the course, it'll get added to. Another one, poster creators. You know, these are people that I want to research and I haven't necessarily looked at it yet, or I've not populated it in terms of online. I've got notes elsewhere, but they're little placeholders to remind me that I want to do that. So yes, that's my research reservoir. Well, my research reservoir as far as artists go. My actual research reservoir, I've created a Trello board. I've got a number of things that, and this is going to get developed as well. So for example, where I've got the London House of Illustration, I went to visit that. What I'm going to do is in each of these, I'm going to just upload any photographs or information, or you know, something that goes with that, so it's all in one place. But this is work in progress and not relevant to what I'm showing you now. So So yeah, this is my my webpage then, and I hope you like it. I really do hope that you found this mini, I say mini because it really is mini little sort of demo through Adobe Portfolio. I wanted to get something out there quickly so that you had something perhaps to just have a look at throughout the Christmas break. So yeah, if you've got any questions, or you know there's anything that you're unsure of, or you want to know if it can do something and you think I might know, just drop me a note. Most of you, if not in fact all of you, should have my mobile number. By all means, just drop me a message or try and get me on Microsoft Teams. Okay, right then, I will leave that there and I will see you all soon.